Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to Portal to Ascension. This episode of Portal to Ascension is brought to you by Magic Mind, a beautiful, amazing energy juice that can be a coffee replacement, but more than that is something that can help you with your focus, your clarity, mental fog, and really fine-tuning your abilities by providing adaptogens and different types of vitamins that provide energy and is incredibly powerful. You can use it as a coffee replacement, or you can just use it as a supplement daily in order just to help you with your cognitive abilities. First ever sponsor on the Portal to Ascension show. So thank you to Magic Mind for sponsoring the next 3 episodes. Who are we? Where do we come from? The evidence suggests that humanity is much older than we've been told. That we've been here on this planet for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. Is there a possibility that humanity was seeded by ancient advanced civilizations, or we were visited by extraterrestrial races? Did we come from the stars? And from those stars were we seeded onto this planet and incarnated over and over again into cycles of consciousness, 26,000 year cycles, over and repeatedly happening as we are evolving, ascending, descending in order to gain these experiences and then become the beings that created us in the first place? Is there evidence to suggest that we are from the stars? Is there evidence to suggest in our ancient history that many of these beings that visited us are still visiting us to today? And that is what we're going to be exploring in today's broadcast. So welcome everybody to Portal to Ascension. This is Neil. Thank you all so much for being here. That was an experiment right there in the beginning. I have livestock footage and I was playing the livestock footage as I was speaking, kind of experimenting with seeing if I can do some live broadcasts, making this like a full feature show and at the same time going live and direct just so that we can have the element of engagement and a conversation that's taking place in the live chat. So I want to welcome you all. Thank you so much for being here with me. And today, as you can see on the topic, we are talking about ancient civilizations and UFO art. Is there any art or any sculptures or any information in ancient texts that could imply that UFOs or extraterrestrials have visited us and come onto this planet before? And as I said just in the intro there, or even the fact that we were seeded by these beings, have they been visiting us? Or have they influenced us and maybe even manipulated the DNA of humanity in order to create what we are now, these sentient beings on Earth? So this is a little fun show. It's impromptu, and the reason we're doing this show is kind of not only for fun, but just to kind of look and make it like an art show. So this is a Portal to Ascension art show of UFO art. So we're going to get right into it today. We have about 30 minutes, and I'm just going to share a slideshow, and we're going to begin this art show here. Okay, so today's topic, UFOs and celestial beings in ancient art. Starting off, so I'm going to show about maybe like 10 different pieces today, and we're going to start off in the Sahara Desert with this ancient astronaut of Tassili de Agir. And this is located in the Sahara Desert in current-day Algeria. And this is one of the many artworks in the world that has been speculated to be maybe a depiction of visitation by beings from the stars in the ancient past. And this artwork is a speculative interpretation of a prehistoric rock painting found in that region of Algeria. The painting, which is part of a larger collection of rock art in the area, has captured the imagination of some individuals who believe that this resembles extraterrestrial astronaut or alien being. And here is a different image of the art, and it's actually a lot of different artworks and petroglyphs, and there's specific areas in that people believe actually looks like it could be some sort of extraterrestrial being visiting our ancient ancestors in the Sahara Desert. And if you followed anything on Portal to Ascension or some of the information that I've been sharing, the Sahara Desert is one of the places that is the most interesting to me, and that is because it's the least excavated place on the planet. We have we've excavated some of the Amazon, we're doing the Yucatan Peninsula, the Guatemalan jungle, but the Sahara Desert is the least excavated place on the planet. And one of the reasons why we're told this is because back when the Sahara Desert was a lush oasis, about 11, 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age and before, it's been told to us conventionally and is believed by conventional archaeologists and researchers that we were too primitive at that time to have any advancements in the Sahara Desert. Therefore, it does not inspire our curiosity collectively, because why would we be curious about going somewhere and researching a place where we know we were primitive and all we're going to find is some primitive tools? However, if you are in alignment with Portal to Ascension and the information we share here, it seems that we could have been a very advanced civilization in the past, probably around 13,000 years ago, and some sort of reset happened, which also contributed to the eventual desertification of the Sahara Desert, and also cataclysmic shifts across the planet. So the Sahara Desert, about 13,000 years ago, in the last ice age, was one of the best places on Earth to live. Actually, the whole strip around the equator, up and down, however hundreds of miles, was the most beautiful place to live, since it got the most sun, and most of the rest of the Earth for quite some time was frozen over, or just really um, uncomfortable climate. So if there was a great civilization back in that time, it would have been the perfect opportunity for them to live in that area. Plus, do not forget, the Sahara Desert continues into Egypt. And from the studies of Robert Schoch and the Great Sphinx, and the Sphinx and the pyramids on the Giza Plateau, we now are coming to the understanding through geological studies and more that that whole area was in use, or these structures were in use at least 13,000 years ago. And Egypt existed during the time as well, in ancient Egypt, pre-dynastic times, during the time the Sahara and the whole of Egypt was a lush, beautiful green oasis before it became a desert. So it's interesting to see that there is some artwork there that could represent possibly an ancient astronaut, right? So I'm interested in the future of what we're going to be discovering in the Sahara, because there are, the sand has covered so much, so many ancient structures there. Egypt, I believe, extended throughout the Sahara Desert. The land of Kemet extended throughout the desert. And we're only looking at Egypt, but if we continue going throughout the Sahara Desert, there may be amazing, ancient, advanced technology and structures that we will find, and possibly even UFOs or spaceships, as is coming out now with the disclosure that's happening in the US right now with Congress, that they're saying some of these UFO crash retrievals are, one, UFOs that crashed, two, UFOs that are left fully intact, and then three, UFOs that have been found through archaeological digs. And now this isn't fringe, this is coming out in the mainstream, that a lot of these whistleblowers are saying some of these UFOs were found in archaeological digs. And I feel in my heart that the Sahara Desert may be a great place for some of that, and also Antarctica. So the painting here. The painting in question is believed to date back to the Neolithic era, or the early Holocene period, approximately 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. It features human-like figure with a helmet or headgear, a possible oxygen mask or visor, and a suit-like body covering. This imagery led some to interpret it as an astronaut or an extraterrestrial visitor. You can see it right here. Moving on to the Yucatan Peninsula, and actually this was found a little north of the Yucatan Peninsula in the state of Chiapas, which is just north of the Yucatan, because there's Quintana Roo and there's Yucatan, which creates the Yucatan Peninsula, and north of that is Chiapas, which pretty much was the extent of the Mayan Empire. We definitely see Mayan civilization a little north of that, and away south into Belize and Guatemala. But I would say that Palenque and Chiapas was really the kind of the barrier, the borders of the great Mayan Empire. And in Palenque, which is actually my favorite archaeological site, and I highly recommend, if any of you are interested in the Mayan civilization, go to portaltoascension.org, sign up there, or log into your account and type in Mayan. and or Maya, and you will find my, I think it's almost 4 hours, 3.5 hour presentation on the ancient Maya, and we go over the architecture, spiritual beliefs, history, devolution, evolution, and all that information there, including Palenque. So in Palenque, this sarcophagus was found. And this is a really famous one. You guys have probably seen this before. It's called the sarcophagus of Pakal. The sarcophagus of Pakal is an iconic archaeological artifact from the ancient Maya city of Palenque, located in present-day Mexico. It is one of the most well-known and extensively studied pieces of Mayan art and archaeology. Here are some of the information about the sarcophagus. So, where it was located in the discovery, it was discovered in the Temple of Inscriptions at Palenque in Chiapas, Mexico. This temple is one of the most important structures in the city and served as a burial place for the Mayan ruler Pakal, also known as Pakal the Great. And you can see here a couple other renditions of this. So the lid, the sarcophagus, was actually taken from Palenque to Mexico City, and I believe it's in a museum there now, so it's no longer in its location. However, if you went to Palenque and visited that area, you will actually get to see, I think it might be this thing on the left here, which is basically a rendition of it, like a fake rendition that they put instead, and then they moved it to a museum in Mexico City. The lid of the sarcophagus is covered in hieroglyphic inscriptions and complex imagery, which provides valuable insights into Mayan cosmology and beliefs. The central image on the lid shows Pakal with outstretched arms, apparently engaged in some kind of journey. He is surrounded by supernatural beings. So let's look at this for a second here. This one's a cool one. You can see it. So you might have seen this one. I mean, if you watch Ancient Aliens, if you watch many different people that have done anything about ancient Maya speak about this. They call this one the Rocket Man because it looks like he's in a rocket about to take off into space. And you can see it looks like he has his foot on a pedal. There's some gears there. He's driving something. It's blasting off. So this is something that people say alludes to the fact that they were aware of the star beings and the celestial beings, which is definitely the case. They were aware of beings from the stars. They spoke about that often. But this was about Pakal being more greater than a human and actually returning to the stars. So there's two trains of thought here. Conventional archaeologists and researchers say that this is just a depiction of Pakal going up into the afterlife after he ascends. And then others say this looks too much like a rocket man and also like he's going out into space. And this is also an artistic depiction of the awareness of our connection to the cosmos and beings from the stars. Moving over to Colombia, we have the Quimbaya artifacts. There's several dozen golden objects found in Colombia made by the Quimbaya culture, dated around 1000 CE. And here is just one of them here. And you tell me what this looks like. Okay. So people have speculated and believe that this is a depiction of either them knowing what's going to happen in the future, or maybe some advanced technology that existed in the past that they saw in the skies, or that they knew about before. This next piece of art is one that you may have heard of because this is one of the most common ancient cases, the one that is actually even spoke about in U.S. Congress. In U.S. Congress now, not only are they talking about the last 100 years, they're going back and saying that a lot of these sightings, they're saying that these sightings have probably occurred since the beginning of time. And with that, a lot of information is coming out. The amount of research that a lot of these Congress members have done and have listened to, and the people that have connected with them in this community is unprecedented. I never thought this kind of thing would happen, that they're speaking about ancient sightings. So, and I'll show you a website that I showed on the last broadcast at the end of this, where people are now posting their sightings daily and videos and images and all that stuff. And if you go back on that site, somebody went all the way back to 1561 to the Nuremberg celestial phenomena, which is this right here. And it refers to a series of events that occurred in the early morning of April 14, 1561 in Nuremberg, Germany. It is primarily known from a broadsheet published in the Nuremberg at the time, which included a detailed woodcut illustration and description of the event. The woodcut is one of the most famous and early examples of what some people consider a UFO sighting or an identified celestial event. Take a look at this here. This is the image of what they saw, all these different orbs, these structures, these light poles with different lights on the outside of it, this black looking triangular object. There was a battle they believed they saw happening in the skies. The woodcut, which accompanied the account, depicts a chaotic scene with various objects and structures in the sky. These objects resemble orbs, crosses, cylinders, and other shapes, some of which appear to be engaged in battle or interaction. Smoke and fire also shown in illustration. The description in the broadsheet is written in a mix of Middle High German and Latin and describes the event. They describe the event as this: a frightful spectacle and a very frightful sight. It mentions the appearance of various objects in the sky, strange shapes, and a battle like display. Many men and women saw what the broadsheet describes as an aerial battle out of the sun. That's what it described in the sheet in 1561. An aerial battle out of the sun, followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object and combatant spheres falling to earth in clouds of smoke. Now we're moving over to the Dogon. So we're not lingering on any subject here or anyone. This is a beautiful art show where we're just showing different depictions of what could be celestial beings in the past. And by all means, what I'm showing you today is not even 1% of all the artwork that's out there. If you go into certain texts, if you go into the Egyptian text and look at the beings, the elongated skull beings, you go to Peru, you look at all the imagery of the elongated skull beings from there and the information on where they could have come from. And then, of course, Sumer, right? Ancient Sumer, what they call the cradle of civilization. And in fact, Egypt is more the cradle of civilization than Sumer. But in Sumer, we have all these beings, these giant beings, and humans on Earth, and the Anunnaki, of course, and so many. And this will be a whole other broadcast, actually. I think I'll do a broadcast specifically on giants, and we'll do a whole broadcast on as many ancient civilizations as I can include with imagery of giants. And that's a whole other thing. Were they giant humans on this planet? Were they giant extraterrestrials on this planet? Was there another type of hominid that were giants that existed with us on the planet? Those are the questions. So going over to the Dogon, we're going to talk about them now. And they have a creation myth. According to the Dogon creation myth, the Nomo were among the first beings created by Amma, the supreme deity in Dogon belief. They were often depicted as amphibious beings who came from the stars or from a watery world and were closely associated with water. A watery world. They're amphibious in nature. The Nomo were believed to have both human and fish-like qualities, possessing both terrestrial and aquatic attributes. They were seen as intermediaries between the human world and the divine or cosmic realms. Teaching and knowledge. The Nomo were seen as wise, knowledgeable figures who shared important teaching and knowledge with the Dogon people. They were considered spiritual guides and instructors. Just take a pause on that for a second. We see this throughout history in so many different ancient cultures, that some beings that weren't quite Homo sapien like us, but were different, either another advanced civilization on Earth, from the stars. A lot of times we speak about them being from the stars or connected to some beings from the stars, going around the planet, teaching humanity on different ways that they've lost or they didn't have, whether it's Thoth, and Sheshat, teaching people to read, write, mathematics, weights, measures, geometry, all that stuff, whether it's Quetzalcoatl, who is the story of who helped build Teotihuacan, a giant Quetzalcoatl going from another place in the world that could have actually been Thoth, and went over to the what is currently Mexico City area, and instructing them on how to build these great civilizations. So we see this story of some sort of beings coming to Earth and teaching humanity. We also see many ancient civilizations that right before they came into existence and with their advancements, we have no track record of their advancements at all. Almost like, how did they become this advanced in such a short period of time? Just like that, even with Egypt, we see ancient tribes, ancient cultures, and then all of a sudden an emergence of this great civilization. Were they taught by other beings? Were these beings from other planets? Were these beings and other great civilization on our planet, like maybe from Atlantis, right? The cosmic connection now. So the Dogon, if you know anything about them, they have this huge connection to Sirius. So the Dogon believed that the Nomo had a deep connection to the stars, particularly the star system Sirius. They believed that the Nomo had come from the Sirius system and had shared knowledge about celestial phenomena with the Dogon. Something I'll love to do in the future, because the Dogons are in Mali, Africa. Egypt is in Africa too. There's a lot of crossovers that happen between these ancient cultures, and if we look at Thoth and we look at Egyptian scriptures and hieroglyphs, there's a lot of references to the Sirius star system as well, and there's actually mathematical equations embedded in certain structures, temples, and pyramids that give you the distance from Earth to Sirius, right? So it could possibly be that ancient Egypt was a way station for multiple beings from all over the galaxy, because there's evidence of the Orion connection, of course, with the Giza Plateau. We have Sirius, we have the Lyrans, right? So we have all of those, but there was definitely a crossover with the Dogon and the Egyptians, both having this deep connection with the Sirius star system. And within the spiritual world and channeling, completely independent of the Dogon's connection to Sirius B and the watery planets, it has been known, within this world of people channeling and bringing forth more information, that the Sirius systems are watery planets in which a lot of amphibious life comes from. Dolphins, whales, right, come from these systems, or at least their DNA or genetic makeup has been contributed from Sirius to our planet. So it's a huge synchronicity that we have here. The Dogon also talking about a half human, half fish-like kind of being coming to the planet from Sirius to teach them all these different disciplines. Now, the next few slides are just going to be some images. I'm not going to tell you where they come from, all the information there. This is just specifically artwork, some ancient artwork here. This one you might have seen as well. We've done a lot of extraterrestrial events, conferences, hundreds and hundreds of hours. Portaltoascension.org. Sign up there if you want to see some of that. And this artwork has been shown a few times. We did an event with Trisha McCannon called UFOs and Ancient Art. She showed this one too. And what I love to do is I like to look at the naysayers and the people that are saying yes, the people that say no, this means something else, people that say this means UFO, and kind of compared it to see if there's any validity to which argument I resonate with. And so another argument that's been made for this from people who don't believe this is UFO is an image of Jesus' soul being taken into the heavens. But if you look at this right here, obviously this is zoomed out, but this is right behind it is where the actual image is. You can see a being coming in. This is a very interesting structure, or the being inside there. And this one on the right here, looks like a machine, just the way it is, with the inside window open there and the spikes at the end and the cylindrical object just going straight ahead. So this one has been utilized quite a lot within ancient alien theory, I guess, or ancient alien factualism, that it could be a UFO. It's a couple more pieces of art. We have this one here. And I didn't get the sources, not the sources, but the person who drew these ones, because these three I just put in here just for extra fun and for us to kind of just look at. And we have this structure in the sky, this object in the sky radiating this frequency down to Earth. And here's something to think about. We have the Jesus being born, and then the three kings following the light in the sky, the star in the sky that took them to Bethlehem, to where Jesus was born, right? So could it have been maybe some sort of celestial object, some sort of being, or some sort of orb, some sort of UFO that was actually directing them to the right place? Because if you take this story as literal, right, and it's a star in the sky, how are you going to go underneath a star and know where the star is pointing down, when whenever you go, the star is always going to be in the same place, right? So either it's not a literal story at all and is completely made up, or it's some kind of orb maybe that they were following in order to get to the location of Yeshua. Then we have this here. There's actually a few in from the Asian continent that look like UFOs, and here is a structure here that looks, very much like a spacecraft. moving all the way over now to Bolivia, we have this structure called the Gate of the Sun. Is a significant archaeological and artistic artifact associated with Tiwanaku civilization, an ancient pre-Columbian civilization that thrived in the highlands of the Andes, which is now Bolivia. It is believed to date back to the around 300 to 1000 AD in the region around Lake Titicaca and the Andes. The central figure here, and we'll zoom in a little bit on the next one, on the Gate of the Sun is often interpreted as the sun god or a deity associated with fertility and agriculture. The central figure is surrounded by a series of motifs, including animal representations, human figures, and various symbols that are believed to convey aspects of their cosmology. And here's a closer look. So whether these are their deities, whether these are deities that they made up that look these ways, but they're part of their myth, or there's three different ways we can look at it. These are made up deities of their gods that are personified elements of nature, maybe, right? These are actual beings that visited the planet that they interacted with. Or these are beings that visited the planet a long time ago that has been passed down through generations and generations and thousands of years, and now has become a rendition of this as a deity that they worshipped. But the interesting part is this whole thing right here, actually, this whole structure is actually depicting aspects of the Tiwanaku cosmology, which is their belief about space and their position within it. Now we're going over to the Chachapoya civilization, flourished from roughly around 9th to 15th century AD. They were contemporaries of the Inca Empire, and the two civilizations occasionally interacted to trade and conflict. And these are called, I believe, I didn't write the name down, the Cloud People, I believe it's called, that has been found in this area. I think this is Peru. Peru in itself, another plug for our website, portaltocentral.org. Sign up, go and search Peru. Go on a binge of our Peruvian content, because it seems like Peru is the biggest archaeological mecca in the entire planet. Like, to the point that you might be able to go to somebody's yard, start digging, and you might find some ancient structure. You know, I'm only half kidding. Like, on some level, that's a very real possibility, because so much has happened there in the past. It seems like a lot of civilizations went there, and it was also an outpost for a civilization of the elongated skull people that were based out of Paracas. And if you saw my show we did a couple of days ago, I spoke about what naturally elongated skulls are and what the cranial deformation elongated skulls are. The conventional information will want you to believe that all elongated skulls around the world that have been found were done through cranial deformation, that they deliberately deformed the skulls and structure in order to look like that by cracking the skulls a little bit, elongating it since you were born and all that. But there's also naturally elongated skulls, and you can go to Peru, go to the museums, go to the Paracas Museum. The Julio C. Tello Museum, I think, is in Paracas, and that one has a bunch of elongated skulls, and these are naturally elongated skulls. Who were these beings? They weren't Homo sapien. However, we do know that they coexisted with us. And we know that we've coexisted with at least 7 different hominids in the 300,000 years they say Homo sapien has been around. However, the 7 that they've told us about were supposedly not as intellectual as us, not as smart as us, and they basically was survival of the fittest, and we stayed around because of our intellect and our abilities, and they all disappeared. But I would like to pose this question. What if not one of those 7 civilizations, but there were more? Paracas is another hominid. What if there were other species? Because we know we existed with other humanoid hominids. That's true. That's a fact. What if there were other hominid species that existed that were actually as smart as us, smarter than us, as aware as us, as sentient as us, right? And it looks like in Peru, there's a lot of evidence for that, because these elongated skull beings were actually the royalty and the priest caste of the pre-Inca civilization. And then when Inca civilization took over and the Paracas people disappeared, vanished, something happened to them, they left. After we see that, we then see them trying to mimic and look like the Paracas people by elongating their skulls. About 6-7 years ago, finally, there was someone who was able to do a DNA testing. Brian Forster and a couple other people were able to DNA test the elongated skulls in Peru. And the Peruvian government just didn't want anybody doing that at all. It took a long, long time for someone to be able to get to that point. And they did the DNA test on it, and they found out that the heritage and the original location of these beings that were the Paracas elongated skull beings were from Mesopotamia, ancient Sumer, right? So I don't even need to go down the rabbit hole of what we know about ancient Sumer and the Anunnaki and the Nephilim and the Garden of Eden and the seven tablets of creation, and all this information and stories, the Enuma Elish, the genetic hybridization of humanity, all that. And now, through testing the DNA on the skulls, the elongated skulls, they've now found out that these beings actually migrated over the Pacific Ocean and ended up at the Paracas Bay in Peru and founded a civilization there. So could these beings be the Nephilim? Could these beings be the hybridizations of humans and the Anunnaki, right? I would say that the evidence suggests that's quite a possibility. Now going to the motherland where my family's from, we're going to India. I think where this is probably the last few slides here as we're going to India. Sculpture of Ravana's Pushpak Vimana over the battlefield on lintel at the Phantom Rung. So the Vimana. If you haven't heard about the Vimana is an ancient craft that has been shown in pre-Vedic, pre-Bhagavad Gita Indian scriptures from thousands of years ago. And there's depictions in some of the scriptures, in some of the Vedas, of this actual craft. And this is an art. This is a modern image of what was found in the scriptures. You can see here on the right. There's two different types of vimanas. There's a Rukma Vimana. You can see it's even got in here how it works. These things at the top are propellers. And there's sculptures of vimanas on ancient temples. And this one is the sculpture of Ravana. Ravana was an incarnate demonic force that incarnated onto Earth and took Sita from Rama, and the huge battle took place of Rama and Ravana in the island of Lanka. That's the story of Hanuman, Rama, Sita, Vishnu, Shiva. And there's a depiction of his flying machine because supposedly Ravana had a flying machine. And now here we go. Here are some actual images from these texts, and you can see, first we have the actual text, and then we have a more modern version of it. There's two types of vimanas. There's a Rukma Vimana that looks very much like a UFO, some sort of pyramid-like UFO, and there's the Shakuna Vimana, which is almost like a flying boat. So there we have it, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and close out my presentation. Let's see if we can get it. Boom. Okay, here we go. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I just wanted to jump on real quick and do a little art show for you all, and do your own research. If you see more art on UFOs, actually, if you find more art on ancient UFOs and you want to share it with me, go ahead and I can add it to this presentation. And it'll be cool to, on Portal to Ascension, on our new website that's launching, have an actual section with ancient UFO art. And that would be really awesome if we can do that. info@portaltoascension.org, and send that over there. And before I let you go, I'm going to just share with you an upcoming event coming up. Actually, this weekend, we have two events coming up this weekend. And then next weekend, we have the Dragons Conference. This weekend, on Saturday, we have with Dan Winter, lucid dreaming and the physics of bliss and successful death with Dan Winter on Saturday, on October 28th. And there's unlimited replay access, so you can always go back and check out anything and even sign up for things after they're done. And then on Sunday, October 29th, also you can sign up if this is past October 29th for you. We have a human design workshop. And then the following week, the event of all events, everybody. Drum roll, please. We have the Cosmic Dragons Conference. Okay. This is brought to you by Star Codes and Portal to Ascension, the Cosmic Dragons Conference, Saturday, November 4th. All-day reverence to the dragons. This is going to be an incredible event. We're going to be talking about ancient history, the West slaying the dragon, the East worshiping the dragon, the serpents, how it connects to reptilian energy, light codes, light language, dragon activations, full circle dragon event, paying homage, paying reverence to these beings never before done. Reverence to these great creatures and their ethereal essence and how they have supported humans in our incarnational process. So if you're interested in any of this, go to portaltoascension.org, online events, and then you can sign up there. And if you're new to Portal to Ascension, please do go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We'd love your support. We go live quite often and doing some amazing events. Some really cool things are going to be coming up. In about a week from now, we're doing an update on UFO disclosure. And then in a week from now, an update on UFO disclosure. Okay, David Grush, all that information. And then after that, I'm doing psychedelics, good or bad. That's going to be a cool one. We're going to go deep into the world of psychedelic research and information. So many times we do events and someone's like, what about psychedelics? Does it create holes in your aura? Are psychedelics good or bad for you? So I'm going to do my own opinion on it. And we're going to go deep into that. And then following that, there's a topic that is one of my most favorite topics to talk about. Are we in a simulation? And is this universe holographic? That's going to be a very interesting one. Science, research, metaphysical information, esoteric awareness, and we're going to go into the simulation and try to dissect some of the code in order to expand our consciousness and awareness on what the possibilities are. So tune in, everybody. That's it for now. This is Neil with Portal to Ascension. Love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.